Welcome to We Got You Covered. My name is Rob Shestack and I'll be your host for the show. We come to you every Friday at 2:30 and we talk about various things in the insurance industry. It could be employer-focused, employee-focused, or human resource professional-focused. We have with us today John D'Angelo, who is the CEO and co-founder of the Forza Insurance Group located in Atlantic City. And John's background is so impressive that I don't want to miss anything, so I'm just going to read it to you. John is an alumni of Stockton University. He has over 29 years of experience in the insurance space, primarily in the voluntary benefits world. He has placed over $125 million of voluntary benefit insurance premium. His primary focus is on large labor unions, Native American enterprises, and Fortune 1000 employer groups. John was also an early pioneer in the development of the paperless enrollment process. So years ago, you would enroll in paper, and then John was a pioneer in doing everything electronically, and we appreciate that. At the forefront of the labor and the healthcare reform movement, he's been a keynote speaker at University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. He is an expert advisor to various labor unions. He's also a mentor to young executives that are entering in the insurance industry. He's a champion fundraiser as well. He supports the Tara Miller Foundation, as well as Gilda's Club of South Jersey, which are both cancer-related fundraisers, and we appreciate all of John's efforts. John, you create custom strategies relative to enrollment, education, and administration of voluntary benefits, and loyalty programs for almost 500,000 UFCW union members from New England all the way down to Delaware. And I got to tell you, that's quite an impressive career. You've made significant insurance industry contributions. You're molding our future leaders of tomorrow. You're raising money for cancer, and you're changing the union employer landscape as we move forward. With that said, today's focus will be on benefit strategies for the union workforce, bridging the gap between labor and management needs, which is always difficult to do, right?
Absolutely.
So, John, can you share a little bit of more information on what Forza does for their clients and how you can add more insight on some of the strategies we talked about, union, employer, labor relations?
Absolutely. First, let me thank you, Rob, for having me, and that awesome introduction. You're hired, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm in.
But so Forza, our area of expertise is the customization of voluntary supplemental insurance plans. And those plans historically fill gaps or designed to fill gaps in employer-sponsored or union-sponsored coverages. So our area is to kind of look at the historical information on a specific group or demographic, and then go to market to try to customize these plans to meet that specific demographic. And we've created some technology around that process that makes it easy for us to go out to the marketplace and negotiate with insurance carriers to bring that to our clients. So that's a part of it. The other part of it is we do enrollment communication and education, which we could talk a little bit about later, but that's an important part of how we're merging that landscape together with unions and employer groups. So we make sure that as part of the process, once we identify a product, that when we're doing the enrollment, that we do in advance of the enrollment a great deal of education and communication explaining the options that a union member or employee may have. Not only what we're offering, but what maybe the employer or the union may be offering as well.
So when we talk about these supplemental or ancillary or voluntary coverages, we're not talking about the core major medical plan that employees typically participate in.
Right.
So what are we talking about relative to programs that help supplement those coverages?
Right, so that's a great point. So we do everything from disability insurance, short-term and long-term. And when I say disability insurance, most companies and unions will have some type of layered employer or union paid disability benefits. So what we'll do is we'll find out where those gaps are in either benefit period our waiting period, and then we'll try to fill those gaps with those types of plans. We also work in bridging health insurance. So when you start to see this escalating cost like that's taking place in the marketplace relevant to healthcare, we try to find ways where we can supply some bridges in coverage to cover co-pays and deductibles. And for those kind of things, we use a limited medical product. We also have access to accident-type plans so that we could put dollars right back into the union member's pocket or the employee's pocket if there's an incident like going into the hospital. So we do that. We have a lot of emphasis on life insurance. The reason life insurance, because most union members that we deal with at a very young age, they lose that coverage and they have to find some coverage to replace that, and usually it's at a much higher rate at an older age, and you have to show proof of insurability. So we try to build some life insurance plans in there as well, where we can add some living benefits that make it a little bit more juicier, but what we do is we lock the union member or the employee into the benefit at the rate based on their entry age.
So let's talk about life insurance, for example, because you could bring up a very valid point. So a lot of union members, let's say you're 22 and you join the union and you work there for 30 years, now you're 52 and you can retire. And what you're saying is when they're eligible for retire and they do pull the trigger and they retire at 52, their life insurance ceases. However, the need for life insurance most likely still exists because they'll have a mortgage or they'll have student loan debt for their children or other financial obligations. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. So what we see in the space is that somebody will retire, just like you said, and they're retiring a lot younger today than they did historically. So they think there's no need for life insurance, and that's when they need it most so that they can maximize their pension and their retirement benefits if they have a spouse. Like you said, some of them may still have children in the home that need that level of protection. So that is a key part of what we do, and what we try to do is fit that life insurance option around the specific demographics of the population we're looking at, but also around what they're currently being offered by their employer and or the union health and welfare funds.
And most employees, from what I understand, most employees, the only life insurance they have is the life insurance provided by their employer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And typically it's not $500,000, $1 million, it's typically $50,000, $100,000. And we know that most people's financial obligations exceed $100,000.
Right, correct. And in your case, you have easy access to life insurance because of your income, your health, and first of all, your knowledge in the industry. But if you could think about a union member that's making only $19 or $20 an hour, they don't really have the same level of coverage available to them as somebody that's making a great deal of money. So by negotiating these benefits and then offering these benefits via payroll deduction at the workspace, we're able to create economies of scale and offer those employees these types of life insurance plans that they wouldn't normally have access to.
And we're going to get into how they have access to it when you talk about payroll deduction and
Absolutely.
so forth. But the days when my parents were young or I was young, somebody would knock at the door and say, hey, can I sell you life and disability insurance? We called it the kitchen table, dining room table sale.
The debit agents, they were called debit agents.
Those days are gone,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They don't really do that anymore.
No.
So most employees are going to rely on getting that education at the workplace, and most employers, their job is to worry about hiring, they're worrying about revenue, sustainability, servicing their clients, and although they are providing some basic levels of employee benefits, you're taking it to that next level where you're making it affordable and easy access to the programs.
Correct,
right?
Absolutely, yeah, that's a big part of our approach to the marketplace.
So let's talk about that, because insurance is very confusing, even among professionals, right? I always say, if your foot hurts, go to a podiatrist, not a cardiologist. Right. If you want to talk about voluntary benefits, you may not go to your regular health insurance agent, but you may want to go to an expert such as yourself and the Forza Group, where you really understand the voluntary benefit marketplace, which is different. So when you talk about educating the employees, because knowledge is power, we always say that, how do you go about educating the employees on not just what they have today, but other programs that they need?
So up until about 5 years ago, the consultant houses who do a tremendous job of educating as far as the core health benefits and the employer or union paid types of benefits. They would do that in booklets that maybe were 200 pages and you had to go through page by page to get to where your benefit was. It was very cumbersome for maybe an uneducated union member that doesn't understand those kind of things. And so what we do, our approach is, it's like three-prong approach. So today we use social media, we do texting with alerts and those kind of things, but most importantly, we have an internal marketing team where we design on a customized basis, promoting both the union and the employer a message that what they're doing for their employees or their union members, but we put it in a very simple way that an employee can understand what's being offered, not only by us, but everybody else in the employer union universe.
Wonderful. John, let's stop right there, because I want to talk a little bit more about the education and communication, because we all know that the more that the employee understands their benefits, they can make the right decisions for them and their family.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And we also know the average employee, without your types of services or without the education communication, spends maybe 20 minutes making financial decisions on their benefits. That's a $10,000 to $20,000 decision. And sometimes they make the right decisions, but if they make the wrong decision, it could basically put them in financial ruin.
Absolutely.
And a lot of employees will declare bankruptcy because of medical
wrong coverages.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's stop right there. We'll be back in a few minutes with John D'Angelo, who is the CEO and co-founder of the Forza Benefits Group, and we're talking about bridging the gap between employer, union, and labor and management benefits.
They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write, the ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
Add us on social media to watch bloopers, behind-the-scenes footage, previews, and more.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me. Thanks, Liz. A woman without a lot of time.
Whether you're a gourmet cook or just...
Welcome back to We Got You Covered. My name is Rob Shestack, and I'm your host for the show. We have with us today John D'Angelo, who is the CEO and co-founder of the Forza Benefits Group, located in Atlantic City. Just before the break, we were talking to John about education and communication of employee benefits in the union space. So how do we educate and communicate not just your basic benefits that unions provide members, but supplemental programs to help them protect themselves and their family, and educating them. So John, with that said, as we said right before the break, the average employee or union member will spend 20 minutes a year making financial decisions on benefits that if they make the right ones, they're okay. If they make the wrong ones, which a good number of them do, it could cost them tens of thousands of dollars. And Harvard did a study years ago that said 65% of all bankruptcies were caused for medical-related out-of-pocket expenses that they couldn't afford. So today, going to the doctor and paying $3 or $2 for a prescription, going to hospital and not getting a bill, that just doesn't exist anymore, even for unions, which usually provide phenomenal benefits to employees.
Absolutely.
So let's say I'm a union member, and it's my opportunity now, time of the year, that I'm going to make benefit decisions for me and my family for 2020. So the old way is I get a book, as you said, 200 pages, I'm reading through it, it's like, what does this mean? Oh, you know what, forget it, I'm just going to continue what I had last year, and that most likely is the wrong decision. So with that said, how do you, what's your recommendation on how to educate? And then you talked about an enrollment process on sitting down with an employee and educating them on their benefit choices.
And that's an awesome question, but the first part of this is you have to get that union member, use a union member in this case as an example, how we're going to educate the member. You have to get that member to a setting where they could sit before a benefit counselor. So that's the first objective that needs to be achieved, because no matter what, the hard part is, even with human resources where they're running it just on the employer side, the employee side, is getting that employee to sit with somebody to understand those benefits. And usually what happens, everything today is, electronic, and some, at least where we operate, some of the folks that we represent don't even have access to a computer at home.
So let's hold that thought for a second. So you're saying that a benefit counselor, let's say you're the benefit counselor, I'm the union employee, a member, you're a licensed insurance professional, you have been trained and have knowledge of all of my benefits, and then you can help me and say, hey, Rob, this is your basic benefits, but you should have additional life insurance based on the debt that you have, because you're going to help me make decisions, almost like my financial planner for insurance.
Yeah, absolutely, except these types of employees or union members can't afford to go out and see a financial planner. So what we're doing is we're taking that planning process and that education process to the workplace so that we can meet them one-on-one and help guide them in those kind of decisions. And so there's a whole strategy to that. The first piece is making sure that we get in front of the employee or the union member with the support of both the union and the support of the employer. The second part of it is to develop a marketing strategy, a plan. We call a campaign, just like any political campaign, where we do our research based on everything that's being offered by the employer or the union. We see what the objectives are that the employer or union wants to achieve. We identify new plans, and we comprise that in an easy to understand process, maybe on a 5th grade reading level in dual languages, in Spanish, it could be in Asian dialogues. So, and what we do is we communicate that face-to-face with an employer or union member. And then leading up to that union member or employee is going to receive some type of collateral material, communications, again, easy to understand. They're going to, leading up to the enrollment, postcards, payroll stuffers, but more today on an automated basis.
So let me ask you this. So we have our meeting, and knowing the industry, they're usually 20 to 30 minutes. But if somebody needs a little more time, that's fine. So now we meet and you educate me, and I have all the information, I'm ready to go. I go home and I talk to my wife, and she's like, well, what about this, what about this, what about this? I'm like, I don't know. So after our meeting, is there somebody I can call or meet with again?
Yeah, so what we do, we have a dedicated 24-hour call center. So if you're a union member and you're either in the process of enrollment or you have already enrolled in any, whether our plans or the union-sponsored programs, you can call us on the call center and we'll help navigate you through the process of making any types of changes. But what we try to do when we're sitting face-to-face, using the example that you gave, is that today everything's driven through technology. So we have state-of-the-art face-to-face enrollment technology where I'm sitting alongside of you. I'm the benefit counselor, you're the union member. I have a laptop computer or a handheld device, and we're going through those options in an easy way to understand, and then making those decisions electronically as well in real time, so that member is enrolled in real time as we speak. So that's the process. So we're going to take you all the way from education to enrollment to post-enrollment, and then we're there 24/7 for customer care.
That's pretty good. So, we talked a little bit about the employee. Let's talk about the union leadership. So from what I understand, you have over 15 years of proprietary analytical data that you utilize when you sit down with union leadership and they say, these are our benefits, these are our demographics, our average age, male, female, average salary. I'm not in the benefits business. How do I know what to offer them? So if we're sitting there and I'm a union leader and I say, these are my benefits right now, how do I know what you're going to come back with is really valid for my demographics, my workforce?
So you said it best. The 15 years of historical data, our largest block of union membership is the UFCWs, or United Food and Commercial Workers Union. So we've been with them for about 15 years, and we continue to grow that population through adding on new locals of the UFCW. So the first part of it is we have analytical data from when we first started these enrollment processes, and we use that data to determine what members, what types of benefits did they select, what was the persistency value of those benefits, how much did they spend, all those types of things, and then we rate those, and when we go back to a union president, we start with that process. This is what we see the UFCWs utilizing historically. And then the second part of that is we'll also do exit sessions with union members. So after they enroll, they'll do an exit survey, and then we'll ask questions that way. We bring union members in pre-enrollment for focus groups. So we want to understand what their needs are, how they want to see things communicated. So that's a part of it. And we do a host of leadership sessions where we're actually sitting with union presidents, and they're giving us their feedback as to what types of plans they would like to see incorporated.
So instead of coming in and saying you need to offer life, disability, and XYZ PDQ insurance,
right,
you're actually coming in with a strategy that is really specific to that individual group.
Right, absolutely, and that's part of our unique process, because what we do is not only do we have that data that we could share, but now that gives us extra ammunition to go to our insurance carrier partners and negotiate these plans that will be favorable to that demographic that we're speaking of, and in this case, the UFCWs.
So this is really not common in the marketplace. So unions across the country, they're not getting this type of service, this type of customization for their employee benefits, and more importantly, their employee benefits are probably not as educated as the process that you're bringing to the members.
Yeah, correct, and that's historically the consultant houses would have access to this process. The Siegels that have a tremendous reputation in the union space, and so they even come to us and see how we can incorporate this with our mutual client, which would be a UFCW local.
Pretty interesting. So I would say, let me ask you this question. We talk about these supplemental benefits. The one thing we didn't talk about is cost. So I remember when I was in the COBRA administration business, and we get a call, and I remember the call, I still have it recorded today, and the member said, $400, $450, I don't have family coverage. And we're like, no ma'am, that's single coverage. So
Right.
and single coverage today could be $600, $700, $800. It's very expensive. And a lot of that is paid for by the union. Some unions will pay 100% of it, but there's some premium. When we're talking about these supplemental coverages, are we talking about hundreds of dollars a month for these coverages?
No, and again, that gets back to the process that we just spoke about, the analyticals, the negotiations with the insurance carriers, understanding the demographics we work with. So if we're talking to a union population, in the case of the USCWs, and their butchers, for example, and based on that income level, we're going to design programs around that income level, knowing that that's what they could afford. Historically, what we like to do is start a union member off in a program that doesn't exceed their one hourly rate.
Oh, that's pretty affordable.
Yeah, very affordable. So, I mean, that's how we approach it, because you can always increase. It's harder to go back down and you have a disgruntled member that thought he may engaged in a plan that was too costly for him. So we always make sure that we're entering a member into a program based on what their hourly wage is to start.
So let's say I buy a life insurance program that's $20 a month, whatever the coverage is. It's going to be based on their age and if they smoke and so forth. I now retire. I bought it when I was 39. I now retire at 52. Does that coverage end because I'm now retired?
Yeah, so that's a great question. If it's employer sponsored, and usually they are employer sponsored or union sponsored, and so what I mean by sponsored is that those two groups are paying for it on behalf of the employee or on behalf of the union member. Historically, there's something called a group insurance program, and under that scenario, when you retire, you're terminated. The coverage is terminated. the plans that we wrap around that program that we would offer, which we would call a pure voluntary life insurance program, whether it builds cash value, whether it's term insurance, whether it has things as critical illness riders or long-term care riders, that's permanent. And most of those coverages that we offer, again, depending upon the demographic, is going to be permanent so that when that union member retires, like you said, he could take that program with him or her at the entry age that they purchased the program. So in your case, instead of having to go out and go obtain new coverage at 52 or 53, you're going to use that coverage, you're going to take that coverage with you that started at age 39.
So I'll still pay that $20 a month until I decide not to pay it
or,
anymore.
and if there's cash value, you may have an option to stop paying it and still keep the program in force. We do some things with dependent children and spouses the same way, and sometimes we'll get some feedback. Why would I want to offer my 2-year-old son life insurance? And so because it's 30 cents per $5,000, and when your son turns 18, he takes it with him at the same price that he bought it based on the entry age.
And if he's 18 and now he has a medical condition, he may not even qualify for
Great,
life
yeah.
insurance,
And
or
that's
it's going to be 4, 5, 10 times the rate,
right,
because they're going to rate him because he has medical issues.
Yeah, and the one thing that we that we didn't touch on is something called guarantee issue. So because of the volume that we have with the groups that we work with, we're able to negotiate something called guarantee issue for our union member clients and even some of the employer groups that we represent. So guarantee issue means that as long as you're actively at work and you're a dues paying member, you're not subject to medical questions.
So let me ask you this question. That's a great point. So I can go in there and let's just say $20 a month gets me another $100,000 of life insurance, term life insurance, right?
Yep.
So you're saying if I had a heart attack 2 months before, or I have cancer, I can go in there based on what you can negotiate for the union and the members. I pay the $20 and I can sign up for $100,000, no questions asked.
Right, if that's a guarantee issue
If
amount.
that's the guarantee issue amount.
Yeah, no questions
But
asked.
then you help negotiate the rate and the amount of coverage on a guarantee issue because of the leverage you have with the carriers.
Absolutely, and that's an important feature. We found that over the years, and it's not 99% accurate that it's 10%, but it's close, that almost 10% of an eligible population is going to have some medical issues that would at least prohibit them from obtaining life insurance at the normal rate. And so when you have the opportunity during open enrollment to have access to a guarantee issue life insurance policy and there's no health questions, I think that's a value add to both the employer and to the union.
So let's say the union and labor and management are in negotiations right now, right? Usually benefits are key. So we only have about a minute left on our program, but I want to finish this thought. So if the union, if the management and labor are in a battle, can you come in and kind of help bridge the gap on the benefits?
We have, and a lot of our unions have negotiated these types of plans into the collective bargaining agreement, which is the agreement between the two. And so everything we do is bridging the gap around the employer and union cooperation, different than the old days where both of those entities would battle. Today it's a different environment. They want to retain their employees and their union members.
That's wonderful, John. We're going to have you on another show.
All right,
because we
great.
have so much
this was
more
fun.
to talk
Yeah, I
about.
appreciate it.
But I hate to say we're out of time for today. I'm your host, Rob Shestack, for We Got You Covered. We come to you every week on RVN TV, 2:30 on Fridays. John, can you tell the audience a little how to contact you if the union or members have any questions?
Absolutely. So you can go to ForzaInsuranceGroup.com, www.ForzaInsuranceGroup.com. And you could tap onto marketing there. All of our bios are on the website as well. And you can, if you want to speak to me directly, you can. All the information is on the website. My cell phone is 609-513-4219, and I could be contacted there as well. The office numbers are located on the website.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, John. Thank you all for allowing me into your homes and businesses this week. Have a wonderful weekend. And we always give a shout out to our police, fire, EMS, our veterans, and our active military. Thank you for your service and for all you do for our communities. We'll see you next week.